There you go.
Okay, are we back? I hope. You see me? All right. Okay, Clausman, you got to either mute or leave. If you hear a little echo going on, it's because Clausman was up here with his computer as we were trying. I don't know what was going on. Some glitchy thing. It didn't have anything to, I don't think it was me, but you never know. Finally, you can see me. Okay, good. Yeah, which throw me. The router's way far away from the snow people, so I don't think they did it. All right, so what was the last thing that you saw? Because I was not aware that I was completely off. Christmas gremlins. I was telling the story of the snowman. Okay. All right. So did you get to see the details on the snowman? I'd started reading. Okay. All right. So let's try this one more time, shall we? Okay. So we'll do it one more time. And if this is a repeat, then just pretend it wasn't. Okay. So Frosty Jr., back at Frosty Jr., was having so much fun throwing snowballs when a terrible thing happened. Okay, a terrible thing happened. One of the snowballs landed on his dad's hat. Right there. The next thing you know, Dad caught him with a snowball still in his hand. Oh, I wonder what Dad's gonna say. Yeah, I wonder exactly what Dad's gonna say. So, what I was hoping to tell you was that when snowmen grow up, they get their stars. But when they're little, this is what stars look like before they're stars. Yeah. So this is what stars look like before they're really stars. So anyway, there is Junior with his little scarf and his little stocking cap. And there's the Papa. He's very tall. That's why he's sideways in the picture. He's very tall. And he has a slouchy hat and, of course, the snowball that's perched up there. And he has his corncob pipe, and both of them have carrot noses that are carved. Okay, so fortunately, that was the end of the brand new pieces that we did this year. Okay. So I'm just going to test here just to make sure. He has the white measles, Deborah. Okay, and then I'm just going to show you one more piece. This is one that we had left from last year, so I'm going to show one more piece, and then we're going to move on. So this guy, I'm very zoomed in here. This guy's name is Ivan. And Ivan's been waiting to go to the right place. You know, he's got the blue, light blue and light green outfit going on, and so he's waiting to go to his forever home. And so here's his story. Ivan, regaled in blue velvet with sparkling moonlit white crystals, seems lost in thought about the gift he has yet to deliver. So this is his gift. The special bear with its tiny heart of love carries all the well wishes and a fun-loving spirit to the elves. He carries the well wishes and fun-loving spirit the elves stitched into him. Ivan knows just the person who needs him, and after a few moments of contemplation, he'll be off in a flash to place his precious gift under the perfect tree. So there is Ivan in his blue velvet robe. He has green velvet mittens. He doesn't have actual crystals on his garment. The crystals are painted in. And there's his face. I can't tell you how many people, when we've shown this one to them, pick him up, say, oh, he's just beautiful. I just love him. And then they'll put him down and pick another one. So, yeah. You never, ever know where they're going to go. But they always go to the right place. Okay. So, let me put him over here. I have 2 or 3 other ones, but they're ones that I've shown in the past. So, that's that. Yeah, the basket's really great too, isn't it? Okay, so that is all of the, those are all the Santas that we did this year and one from previously. So I thought we would do, what time is it? We've been yammering on for a while. I thought what we'd do today is a couple of Christmas cards or holiday cards. And you can use this technique with whatever you would want to do it with. And one of my cameras and my computer are not cooperating today, so we're punting a little bit. So yeah, hey Jude from New Zealand, so nice to see you. Hi Monique. Yeah, Barbara says she'd keep that one for sure because she likes the blue coat. I don't keep any of them. I mean, I have a few that we've accumulated over the years, but none of them are permanently here unless it just happens. So, okay. So here is the one of the cards we're going to talk about. It's a holiday card, Merry Christmas card. You could use, if you don't celebrate Christmas, you could use the technique for any other kind of occasion. Here's another one. So this one is like a little window with a Christmas ornament in the window. And these started out as little sketches that I did a long time ago. I've had these hanging around for a while. So these are sketches that I did. And so this is one. They're done on 4x. They were done. I did them on 4x6 index cards that are no line index cards. So I was just playing around with them, just with the no line index cards. So these are some of the sketches. Then I scanned them into my computer and printed them back out, so that way I didn't have to draw them every time. Listen to me thinking. Listen to me thinking. So those are all the black and whites. And so they're scanned into the computer, and then I could print them out in multiples. Here's the other one, which I don't know that I have the actual sketch of it. But anyway, you get the idea. So once I print them out, I just print them on cardstock. So this is just inexpensive cardstock. Hello, Shelley. So it's just inexpensive cardstock, white cardstock. So they come out looking just like this. And the inspiration for these comes from the Zendangle type art that Joanne Fink made so popular. And so that's kind of where the inspiration for these came from. So you can see the double thick lines and the little patterning and stuff in the various places and the letters and so forth. But once they're printed out, then these have been sitting around, honestly, for quite a while. So the ink is good and dry. These were inkjet. And then I sprayed them. I put them in a spray box, which is just a cardboard box that I use to spray ink and glue and all kinds of stuff. It just helps to contain the overspray. And so I just spray them using the tumble dye. I like the fabric dyes because when they are completely dry, they're permanent. And so what I do is I use the tumble dye, the SEI Tumble Dye, and I thin it down with water, and I put them in these extra little bottles. But this is what it looks like in the manufactured bottle. And so I put some of the dye in here, like, maybe a quarter of the bottle in the heavy dye, concentrate, and then I fill it up with water. And then I just make these more pastel versions. So that's what I did. So there is the green. So this one's called grass green, that's thinned down. And this one is red. This one is aqua, which it's probably so light that you're going to have a hard time seeing it, but it's aqua. And then I have another one, this one that's kind of splotchy. This is a combination of mint and it's mint and, what was the other color? Jade or something. No, lime. Mint and lime. Okay. So that's what I did. I just sprayed those with the different colors of the tumble dye. I let them dry, and because it's just cardstock, they get all, wrinkled up and everything. So I turn them over at my ironing board, and I use a steam iron. And believe it or not, I do use steam, and I have it set just a little hotter than silk, and I iron the back of them. And not only does that iron and make sure that the dye, the spray dye, is completely dry, but the other thing it does is it flattens the card. Now, it's not totally flat. You can see it's got a little curl to it. But by the time you attach them down to the card base, and on these, I attach them to a black mat and then attach them to a pre-folded, pre-done card base, they're flat. There's no warping and wrinkling and stuff. Okay. So what we're going to do is let's do this one, this stocking, so you can see what this one. Now the background on this is much lighter because I used a different color in the background. This was magenta that was watered down or diluted. Diluted's a better word. And so this one is going to be more colorful, but this is the one we're going to work on. So I'm going to use colored pencils, and I have a variety of pencils, Prismacolor pencils, and also some Scholar pencils. The Scholar pencil is the student version of the Prismacolor line. So I have a variety of both. And so we're just going to pick a color. And so I'm just going to pick up something and work with it. So this one is Crimson Lake, and this happens to be the Scholar, Prismacolor Scholar. Prismacolor Premier is the professional line. Prismacolor Scholar is the student line. Okay, so here we go. And I'm just going to color this. So I'm going to add more color to the stocking. And these are, I know that the Premier pencils are a wax base. I'm not entirely sure if the Scholar pencils are also a wax base or not. It's kind of irrelevant to me because they work. So, yeah. So there you go. But I'm not pushing very hard because I don't want the pencil to build up. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a good coat right over the top of the sprayed background. So I guess one of the things I want to encourage you with is if you draw cards, or you draw illustrations, or you have things that you really enjoy, before you add color onto them, if you have the ability to scan them into your computer and save them, hey, it makes life a lot easier. Then you don't have to keep redrawing everything, So I've just given it a nice even coat of color. Okay. Then I'm going to go to a darker color. Let's, this one is Tuscan Red. This happens to be in the Premier line. So you probably won't be able to see, well, it says Tuscan Red there. And I'm going to go around the edges with my Tuscan Red. So right up here under the cuff of the stocking. And I'm going to go around these, this trim, which could be a jingle bell. It could just be a trim of some kind. So we're just going to go around that. Again, not pushing very hard because I don't want to build up the layers of colored pencil. And you'll see more of a difference here in a minute. Then I'm going to add to the toe of the stocking. And as I get to where the toe of the stocking begins to widen out, I'm going to just work along the edges. Just along the edges of the stocking. And I'm trying not to get real dark lines. I just want a soft application of color. Now, because this is a Christmas card, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, right? Because it's highly likely that somebody's going to get this in the mail and is going to look at it, and then after a while is going to throw it out. So, there's just no point in putting a ton of time into this, which is another reason that I like to, do it. In fact, here's one of my other sketches on the back of this one. One of the things I like to do is duplicate my work this way. Okay, so I've got a little bitty jar of, this is odorless paint thinner that I buy in the art department of a local craft store, but it's an odorless paint thinner. And I have a Kleenex. You can see I've used it. This has got other paint on it and stuff. And I'm going to use a blending stump. So this happens to be a number 2 blending stump. I'm going to just dip the end of the stump, which is paper, in. This has got the odorless paint thinner in the bottom. It's got a piece of sponge in here. The thinner wicks up into the sponge. I'm just going to pick up some of it. And then I'm going to color with the stump with the odorless paint thinner right over the top. And you're going to see the color change. And you're going to see the pencil is going to change. And the thinner will evaporate out of the paper and leave behind just the blended pencil. There's 1,000,002 different ways to do anything. So if this is not the way you like to blend pencils and so forth, that's perfectly fine. So you can see how much more intense the color becomes. And that is by way of the odorless paint thinner and what it does. So now you can use bigger blending stumps. You could use the side of a blending stump. You could use a Q-tip or a cotton swab, cotton bud. I tend to like the stumps or a tortillon, which is a rolled paper. Looks like this, but it's rolled paper. I tend to like these better just because they're small and you can get into small, skinny little spots. And sometimes if you have something underneath your paper or cardstock, Like if you have texture on your mat, which this mat is kind of textured, you'll pick up that texture will read right through the paper. So you might want to put a couple of pieces of paper or something underneath it that's completely smooth so you don't have that issue. Bye, Zandra. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you. Now, you're not going to be able to probably see the difference in these two reds. I can see them here, but I don't think you're going to be able to see them. So we're going to do something really crazy here in a second, and we're going to jump to a much darker color just so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, you can see a little bit of it down in here, but it's a little hard for you to see. I know that. Okay. So while the paint thinner evaporates out of that, I'm going to go to pick up a green. So I'm just going to pick up, this is pale green, and this is a Scholar, one of the Scholar pencils. And I'm going to go around the edges of this. I'm going to leave the background color showing. Now you would not have to do this with the background thing where I sprayed the background. You could leave the background white. I just think it makes it a little more interesting, and so I chose to do this. Okay, so I've got a little edge of green around it. Now I'm going to go back to my Stump again. And I find it's a good idea to have a piece of white cardstock of some kind, and get your put your blending stump into the paint thinner, and then just kind of color on your white cardstock, because in that way you can see whether you've still got the color, the original color, the red that I was using coming off. So once it's clean or clean enough, another artist tried baby oil and it worked great. Yeah, I've never used baby oil. I know I've read about it, but I've never used it. And some people don't use anything at all. You know, some people use a blending powder. It really is what you like and what you get used to, and because everybody develops preferences, you know. Now, the darker the background, like this background is darker than the one that's on the finished card. And the darker the background, the more you're going to have that playing with the color that you apply on the surface. But I personally enjoy that, so. But by leaving it lighter in the center, you end up getting more of a kind of a three-dimensional appearance, because it looks a little highlighted in the middle. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to go for a more highlighted three-dimensional kind of appearance. Okay, let me see what color I have here in the Scholars. I'm going to go to a purple, which is a drastic change in, it's much darker than the red. But we're going to see if we can get this shading to show up a little bit more where you can see it. So I'm just going to do the same thing, but not much pressure here. See if we can get this to darken up a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit in the toe, around the cuff, where the cuff meets the stocking, a little bit in the toe, and maybe a little bit more in the heel. just to see if we can layer up a little bit darker color here. Again, not using a lot of pressure, because if you use a lot of pressure, you're going to start laying down the binder in the pencil. Thanks, Monique. Thank you for being here. Sorry we had issues earlier. So I'm back to the blending stump now, and a little bit of thinner. And see if we can get this to show up a little bit more. This is kind of mindless stuff, actually. This is a good thing to do at the television, or when you're talking on the phone, put your earbuds in and talk on the phone. Don't tell anybody you're coloring or making Christmas cards while you're talking to them. Sometimes the color changes a little bit as the thinner dries out of it. So, okay, that's a little bit darker that you can see, I think. Okay, so let's go to a dark green and see if we can darken up around the edges of our little cuff on the stocking just a little bit more. So this color is dark green, and this is a Scholar pencil. So just a little bit, not a ton. Every time you go to a darker color, you want to use less of it. That's how you're going to get things to look dimensional. So use less each time as you're going darker. Okay, so let's add a little bit more thinner. And it's really a good idea if you have dedicated blending stumps to different color families. Rather than using the red stump, the red side with green pencil, it's better if you had like a blue-green stump or one stump dedicated to greens and one dedicated to reds and another one dedicated to blues, that kind of thing. That way you're going to keep your colors more consistent. Okay, so we're going to call that good, but you can kind of get the idea, right? Okay, from there, then you get to decide how you want to treat the rest of it. Do you want to keep going with colored pencils? Do you want to work with pens? What do you want to do? So I think on this one, we're going to just go to gel pens. Because why not? Because we can. So I like Jelly Roll pens. Another thing that puts some nice sparkle on things is a Wink of Stella. And this is a clear Wink of Stella, which is a brush with a clear glimmer in it. Looks like a water brush. And that's kind of a fun thing to use as well. So I've just got a variety of gel pens here. Most of them are Jelly Roll pens. I'm just looking at my choices I've got here. And one of my favorites to use on this stuff is the Clear Star pen. Hi, Karina. Hi, Ilona. Nice to see you. Hi, Deborah. I do the original sketch in pencil, and then I do a go over them with pen, and then I erase out the pencil lines. Yeah. So this is the Clear Star pen that I'm using. The other ones that I like a lot are the Moonlight pens, and all of the Moonlight Jelly Roll pens have this little insignia right here with a moon and a star. I really like those a lot. And then the Stardust pens. The Stardust pens, this one happens to be a bold line, so it's a little thicker line to control. But these are really heavy in the glimmer as well. And don't know whether I can show this to you, where it's so hard to catch the glimmer and shine on camera. There, I think you can see it a little bit. And then the Jelly Roll Company also has glitter pens. And so you can get gold and silver and other colors as well. So that's the gold one. I'm just tipping it in the light to try to get the light to catch the glimmer. This is one of the green glitter pens over here. So anyway, I like Jelly Roll pens personally, and so I have quite a collection of them. And if I find new ones, I just get another, add some more. All right, so I've zoomed in really, really tight here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a green, because I'm looking for things that'll really show up here. And I almost always keep a spare piece of cardstock or paper or something, so I can constantly test my pens on it to make sure the ink is flowing. So what I'm going to do here is this little border. See this little border I've drawn? I'm just going to add some color into that border with a gel pen. And I don't stress out about this, folks. I truly don't stress out about this. If I get outside the lines a little bit, I go, oh, well, well, that's too bad. And then I'm going to go, so I've done every other little section in green there. Then I'm going to come on around. I'm going to just carry that same idea around. But the finer the point of the pen, the easier this is. Now, you could also use paint pens. And sometimes I do use paint pens. I just happen to like the Jelly Roll pens for how easily they are controlled, because the point's tiny. And you don't have much waiting time for the ink to get dry. That's the other thing that's a really nice advantage. But if you have a bunch of your designs that you like, and print them out and just sit and, while you're doing something else, you could be listening to a book on tape or music or whatever, and you can just sit there and you can just color. And it's amazing how different they're going to look. And it's amazing what you can get done in a pretty short amount of time, especially if you start with the background having something in the background. Hey, Katie. Bye, Claudette. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we're going to keep going here. Katie, YouTube was giving us a little bit of trouble today, so this probably is going to end up in a couple of parts. In the first part, I show all of the finished wood carvings that we did this year, so we'll see how the recordings end up showing up, because we had a little glitchify. Okay, so I've got that around, so I put the green around there. Then I'm going to use this, one of the Moonlight pens. Actually, I'm going to use one of the classic pens. This is one of the classic set, and this is red. And I'm going to fill in the alternate spaces between the little green motifs. I'm going to put red in there just cause that's what struck my fancy. Okay. Yeah, I usually don't have too much trouble. So today was kind of unusual. A bit on the unusual side for me to have problems, but sometimes it happens. Honestly, it's kind of a miracle that it ever works. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, I think it's kind of remarkable that it works at all. When you think about how many people are online at any one point in the day, how many people are on YouTube, it's incredible that it even works at all. So I'm just grateful for every day that that things function the way they're supposed to. Okay, so we have a little red and green border, and you can tell it's not perfect, and that's okay with me. Let's see if we can get the white to show up. If white won't show up, we'll do the crystal star or silver or something. So let's see if white shows up here on the little tips of the snowballs. Snowflakes, sorry, flakes. Just to lighten it up a little bit. You can also, when you're drawing things like this, you can also draw them bigger and then reduce the size either in your computer, or you can reduce the size depending on what your copy machine is. Now, what is going to affect that size business is the proportions. So if you have a specific size of card base that you're trying to put a card front on, you might have to do a little bit of experimenting about the proportion of how big you need, what proportion you need to draw it in, so that when you shrink it down, it's still going to maintain the size ratio that you want with your card bases. The other alternative is just do what you want to do, shrink it down, and then just, find a card that fits, or make your own card base. I'm lazy when it comes to card bases. I go and buy them already done because I want the envelope, I want the card base, I want all that stuff already done because I've put the work into the card front, and I'm not a fancy card maker. I do make a lot of cards from time to time because I send out a lot of cards, but I'm not going to spend a bazillion hours making a card. That's just not who I am. So I will take any shortcut that I can possibly take when it comes to that. Okay, so you can see the little white sparkles. Okay. So you can see all the little, hi Nairi. They'll be on, I think the recording will be online later. Hopefully. I'll do my best. Okay, so we have some little white sparkles there. And then you can decide what you want to do about the letters. You can come in here and you can add color to them. This is on this one, I added colored pencil. And you can see I was not picky about it. I had a colored pencil, and you're looking at it closer than you would ever look at this ever in your whole life. But I went back with the mineral spirits, odorless mineral spirits, and the blending stump. Okay, the blending stump, and then just blend it around that. So you can certainly do that. If you want to make these little embellishments into jingle bells, you can just take a gold pen and sparkle it up with a little bit of gold, like so. Okay, so I've added a little bit of gold. Once that dries, you'll see it more. Yeah, the white really does help. Anything you do to these really does sparkle and shine them. And I missed a few spots here with the red, so I will quick pop those in. And then this stocking I put a little patterning around the edge of the stocking, so maybe what we'll do there is use this clear star pen, which you may or may not be able to see what it might or might not show up. So we'll just put some in here. Again, in every other one of these little patterns I've drawn. Just to give it a little bit of something else, around the edge. So even when I can't see the little compartments because they're so tiny, I'm just going to make it up. It's all those little picky things that just kind of make your work. It'll set what you do. It's like your handprint, it's your signature. So add those little details that you like that make something reflect your personality in what you do. Okay. So added a little bit, you can really see it up here, a little bit of that clear star pen, which will give it that shine. I'm going to add a little bit more down here because the spaces are a little bigger, so I'm just going to add a little bit more down here at the bottom. Thank you, Ilona. Okay, so you can do what you want with the letters. We're going to just sort of maybe we'll put a little bit of green here and there on some of our letters. So just to jazz them up a little bit. And you can do every other letter. Merry Christmas ends up working out very well with doing, like you could use one color on every other letter and then choose another color to use in the every other letter. In this case, I'm just doing some quick kind of dots and spots. And this is one of the Moonlight pens. And if you could see how imperfectly I'm doing this, you'd be like, really? Is that what you're doing? Can you see how imperfect that is? But it's just going to sparkle it up. Okay, so if you have any questions, be sure and pop them in the chat in all caps. That really helps me to see if you have a question. It's not a guarantee that I'll see it even if you put it in all caps, but I do try. I do try. And I see something in the chat about stamps. You could do something very similar. If you have different kinds of rubber stamps, you could do something similar. Just combine different stamps and combine some of your own little embellishments with it, you can do that as well. And do the same thing. Copy them, scan them into your computer. And what I did was I laid out 3 at a time, because that's what I could fit on my cardstock, so I could print them out 3 at a time, and then I just cut them apart. But that was better use of my paper and my time for sure. Okay, so we got that. Oh, thanks, Ilona. Bye, CB. Good to see you. Okay, so that's what we've got going on. And again, you're seeing these very, very close up. So I'm going to zoom out just a smidgen more here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use some ink. So I'm going to use Archival Ink in Library Green, just because I happen to like that one. And a piece of cut and dry foam. And I'm going to ink around the edges, because it just helps to frame it. And because the background has the spray on it, you're not going to get a real true green. But it's going to darken it down, but it's not going to be dark like black, because we're going to put a piece of black cardstock behind this, so I don't need black here, really. Another thing you can do with these is you can take on this one, I put a layer of, or a pencil around the edge. The green right here is pencil. So I put a light green pencil and I blended it with the Odorless paint thinner, and then I went on the very edge and used the green, the library green ink. So it gives it another little extra look around the edge. So, don't hesitate to do things around the edges of your card fronts as well. Okay, so that's what we've got going on so far. Okay, now I only have this one color of this particular card base. I only have this one color, which looks like neon green to you guys. It's not quite that bright in real life. But to temper that just a little bit, I've cut some black mats that are slightly larger than my card front, and so I'm going to put the black on there. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to tell you, this is where I start getting a little, well, I'm just not as good at this. Let's just say that. And this, as I said, this is one of the sketches on the other side. We're going to pretend that's not there. I'm just using some double-sided adhesive. You don't really need a strong adhesive for this, but I mean, most of the time I'll reach for a score tape or something, but this is working fine. This is an ATG. And then I line this up as best I can. If you stand up and look down on it, you'll have a better shot at centering it. Still no guarantee that I'm going to get it centered, people. I sort of get to a point where I go, oh, that's good enough. Yeah. So center it on the black. Then I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure that your card front opens the way that you want it to open. I'm going to do the same thing. Put the double-sided tape on the back, around the edge, as close as I can get it. Sometimes I do better than others. And sometimes I run off the edge, and if you do, then just pull it back onto the surface that you are trying to put the tape on to begin with. And then check your edges to make sure that all the little tape boogers are around to the back. And then look at it again. Trying to line things up as best you can. Good enough. And then burnish it from the inside, and then there's your card. And then I select one of my pens, my gel pen colors from this, and it can be anything, whatever it is I like, and then I write around the edge. So we'll just be consistent with what I've done before, so I'm just going to grab this bright green, and then I just sign the card like that. Okay. Yeah, so Katie said in case you don't have odorless, you can use colorless blenders like the Copic brand to blend the colored pencils too in case you don't have the spirits. Yeah, absolutely. So anything that is a solvent-based colorless blender will work with the colored pencils too. Yeah. Okay, so there is another example of the same card front. So the biggest difference between these two is that this one was sprayed with a different color. So this one was magenta. So this is the SEI Tumble Dye, and it was diluted, and it is, you know, it was diluted more heavily. This one I was trying to get more of a red, which, you know, anytime you dilute red down, you're going to go into the pink tones. So it still is kind of pinkish, but it's fun to have something that's darker. So it's the same thing. And then this is the other one that I did. And so it looks like there's a little ornament hanging in the window. So this one is done with reds and golds. And I colored right over the words. So I colored right over the words. And this one you could do, you know, this one would be nice to add even a little bit more greenery or, you know, something around here, and or add a word, another word, or, you know, you could write a greeting on here or what have you. So those are those cards. The other two that I had, let me see, where are they? The other couple of designs, I did the tree. So this is, again, these are all inspired by the Zendangle, by Joanne Fink's Zendangle books and patterns and so forth. So these are fun because I have all these little tiny, you know, border things. They're fun and yet they're annoying because you got to do something with those. But this is the perfect place to use gel pens. And so this is a different color background again. But you just play, you know, just do something, just play. And then this is the bird. And this one was sprayed with aqua in the background. Now, these were all inkjet, printed on inkjet printer, an inkjet printer. And the thing about the inkjet printer is that these have been sitting around for a long time. So the ink was totally and completely dry and stable. If you did a fresh printing using the inkjet printer on these, I don't know, you know, if you would have some issue with that. So you need to do some experimentation. If you have a toner-based printer, like I have a very inexpensive toner-based printer, and that, you know, might be a better thing. I don't know. Just have to play with it. Always experiment. Always experiment. Okay, so that takes care of what we're going to do today. So I guess you guys want to see the sponsors to see if they're still around, right? They are. And remember I was telling you about the spray box where I would put put these backgrounds down in the spray box and spray them. You know, it's a big cardboard box. I had that big box sitting beside me last night, and Chance decided to sit in it. Now, mind you, I spray glue in it. I spray paints. I spray inks. And he gets in there and sits. So there's, now in my spray box, there's also some Chance fur. Yeah. Okay, let's see if they're ready to come out and make an appearance. At least Chance will. Charlie sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. You coming to say hi to everybody? He hasn't lost any weight, folks. He has not. Since last you saw him, he's just as fat as a tick as he was. Yep. Okay. Lie down there. Lie down so they can see your pretty face. Let's see if the camera wants to look at you today. Yep. And here comes old Charlie boy. He's sitting on the floor coughing. Cat hair galore. Right in my spray box, wasn't it? Yes. And there he is in all of his prettiness. Right now, because the heater is on. Charlie, go away. Right now, because the heat is on, you know, there's all this static electricity, so his fur is getting all stuck together, which looks pretty funny. Yeah, it does sound like a horse. Go on. Go, 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 go. Go cough in the other room. Go on, go on. Charlie can wait to come out. He does. He makes too much noise, doesn't he? Okay, so yeah, so that's the deal with Mr. Chance. He likes to decorate my spray box. So remember to check out Creations CC with her 12 Days of Christmas. And I'm just telling you that because I love watching her. She's on YouTube. The VIP class is tomorrow, so your email will go out today with the information. So I will see you guys, you VIPers, with your class tomorrow. And he is solid. He is a solid. These are the most solid cats I've ever had. And believe me, I've lived with lots of cats. But these are not only the biggest cats I've ever had, they are the most solid. Yeah, they are the most solid things. So, anyway, I wish you guys all a very, very happy holiday season. And I will be back January the 5th, which is going to be the first Friday in January. If I have something to do, you know, impromptu before then, I will pop on and do something then. I am putting up some short YouTube videos, some reviews of books and products, so you can look for those. I've put up several of those in the last couple of weeks. And yeah, that's it. So I wish you the happiest of days, moments, weeks. Get over here so they can see you. Chance and I say, and Clausman and Muppet and Charlie, we all say, we wish you the happiest and most peaceful of seasons. So thank you for joining me. 2017 has been great. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will be back in January, if not before. So have a good one, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, I'm only streaming once a month, the first Friday of the month. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys soon. Again, before you know it, I'll be back. I'll see you. Thanks for being here. Remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. See you next time.